thought this was it. I text my dog sitter and I said, if I don't make it back home, like, please just take care of my girls. But I just remember thinking, like, I literally might come back in the bottom of a plane.
What's up, guys? Benny Adams here. I am so excited because I'm talking once again to Nia. Nia, it's been too long, 2 years since we last talked. How's it going?
It's going good, Benny. I am happy to be back here. And I mean, I never would have thought in a million years that you and I would be talking all things challenge again. Like, wow. But yes, I am very excited to be back. It's been a long hiatus and the ride has been really sweet this time around. So I'm very thankful.
Yeah, I know it's insane because the last time I talked, I remember asking you, would you ever come back to the challenge? You said, I don't think it's going to happen because you're in such a different place in your life. You're not really in that world anymore. So I guess I want to ask you, what changed your mind to come back to the show?
Oh my God. I will say this. After I decided to come back, I also decided I would never say never ever again in my life, because I was very adamant about this was my final hurrah in 2016 or 2015, whenever I did it. And I left on really bad terms, and I would have made amends with it and, rectified or righted my wrongs a long time ago. But I just felt like it had now expired. I had no interest in going back in history and reliving some of the ugly things that I said and did. And I arrived to a really good place in my life. And so, I was like, there's no way I'm going to ever do this again. And respectfully, I hope everyone kind of sees that and stops asking me on Twitter. But, when the opportunity for All Stars came around, I was made to feel very comfortable by the producers that this was a different environment with a different group of people than what I was used to, like on the main show. So I felt kind of safe, but I still didn't necessarily have a desire to. And it wasn't until, Jordan and I were hanging out and he said that he was going. And I'm like, okay, if you promise me you're going to be there, you're not going to pull out at the last minute and go shoot a movie, then I will do this with you. And I felt safe enough to do it with my friend because he was going.
I am so glad you're back. And I know the fans love that you're back. It's been way too long. And you said that the producer said the environment has changed. What was it like to come back to this show? Was it completely different? Was it a whole new environment from the challenge that you once filmed years ago?
Yeah, so it was definitely a completely different environment. And here's the reasons. Number one, everyone is older, has matured. We all have something to lose. We've all had time to reflect and figure out who it is that we want to be and who we don't want to be. And you can just tell that the energy is different when you walk into an All-Stars house. Everybody really is there to have a good time. Most of us are washed up anyway, so we don't really have high expectations performance-wise. We're just happy to be there doing something that feels nostalgic that we did, in our 20s. And so for me, it was just more of the energy. It was a lot of laughter. Eventually there were some mean girl elements to some of the cast members and some drama in the house, but it never went to that dark place that it has gone when I've done the main challenges. And I think primarily, even in my own experiences and the previous challenges, a lot of the negative stuff that I went through was all self-inflicted. It was me stirring the pot, me not knowing how to handle myself in a competitive, stressful environment, just with my big girl pants on. I just wasn't capable of doing that back then. And now, I'm a grown woman and I'm slow to anger and I have a lot of shit to lose. And, I'm just a different person. I've healed from, the trauma and the issues that I had in my past, gone through a lot of therapy. And so I was capable of being in that environment and having a good positive outcome. And it was not hard to do because, like I said, everybody else in the house had that same mentality.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about this show is that you get to see all these cast members who were on the challenge and they're even late teens early 20s, and you really get to see their evolution and, you know, where they've been in life and how far they've come. I do disagree with you on one thing, though. You are not washed up. Are you kidding me? I saw you during that elimination, Nia. I saw you during that elimination. You are not
that
washed
elimination
up.
was not physical. That elimination was mental, and I shoot a lot of pool. So
Okay.
I knew, once I saw that, I was like, oh, the final act is shooting this ball in a hole. Like, lights
You're
out.
like, I got this. I got this. I want you touched on the mean girl mentality, and I do want to talk a little bit about that. But I've noticed watching this season, I feel like the women are running this season. Am I wrong? Because almost every storyline has to do with the Treehouse Alliance, which is mostly women. I think Derek is the only guy on there. And so it just seems like all the women are getting like these main storylines, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And when I'm like trying to reach out for interviews, I'm like, who do I want to talk about this episode? I'm like, oh, well, Sylvia was the main person on this episode, or Kendall was the main person on this episode. So I'm like, I'm kind of liking how the women are kind of taking over.
Yeah, no, I will say this was a group of really fierce, powerful, confident, just dope women to be around. And it was a lot of us, and I felt like we all had our strengths and our weaknesses. We all had different personalities, good, bad, and ugly. I walked into that house and left feeling like I loved each and every one of them. And I know that sounds so like, oh, that sounds so like pageant answer, but it's the truth. Like, I really saw a lot of good in every single person that I met. You know, and we disagreed, and some of us, you know, got into arguments or had fights or this or that, or some people did things that they're probably not proud of today. But I feel like for the most part, we all showcased the most beautiful, vulnerable parts of our personalities. I mean, out of all of the women, we all cried at some point. We all hugged, we all laughed, like we all, you know, opened up about ourselves and our lives. And we had a lot of like vulnerable chats. You know, even when we just like sleeping in the same room or sitting at the pool and just talking about life and things. And I could see why each of us could be loved by so many people and would be invited back to do this, you know? And that was the great thing. And then I have always been a guy's girl. So typically I love to kind of just like run with the boys and whatnot. But I really enjoyed getting to know all of the women this season, for sure.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to like actually see them again in like real life. You know, we've been able to like see each other at the premiere party, and then the party I did with Cameo. And it was just, it's like they're family now. You know, even if it was only 6 weeks that we were all together, it to me is like, once you're in this club, you're in this family, you're in it for life, and you genuinely are emotionally invested in the well-being of each of us. Even if you're not the closest with someone, it's like you do wish them well, you know, because we've all kind of gone through this journey together.
Right. And it's so cool because you're in a house of legends, pretty much. You know, you got to compete with Veronica. You got to compete with Kendall. What was it like meeting these women? Was this the first time that you met them?
Yeah. So the only woman that I had previously met, women, Janae and Jimmy. Everybody else I had never met before. Jordan and Wes were the only guys that I had met before. Everybody else was like a first timer. So I was really excited because I didn't necessarily watch the challenges back in the day when all the OGs were kind of running it. But I remember these iconic moments, like Veronica on like dangling between the two buildings, and she's like freaking out and the girl's like about to unhook her. And then I remember like a bunch of like one-liners from Tina. And it was just really, and you know, obviously Melinda is just like a bombshell and a sweetheart. And I had seen her Real World Austin season, so I was excited to meet her. But it was just nice to like meet all of them and even just hear the stories of like the challenges that they did in the past, and you know, like their experiences and how different it was from ours, you know, because they didn't have social media, and like things were just different. And like, I wish I was a part of that era, honestly. Like when I was listening to their stories, I'm like, oh, I wish I was doing this when like Veronica and Tina, you know, were out there like having their way and killing shit.
I call those the golden age of reality TV. So I want to talk about this Treehouse Alliance. You were not in that alliance, correct?
So no, I was not in the Treehouse Alliance, but here's the thing. Night one, Sylvia and Kayla came to me and said, hey, we want to work with you. And so I was wasted, skinny dipping in like the upstairs pool at this point. And so I'm like, hold on a minute. I'm flattered, thank you, but let me get back to you guys in the morning because I'm so drunk, like I could barely even see straight. Like, I don't want to make a game decision while I'm inebriated. Like, this is our first night we were having that huge party. I wanted to let my hair down. I had social anxiety, like from the moment we got there. So I was just like, let's talk about this later. The next day I go to them and I said, hey, you guys have a deal. The deal wasn't like anything, there was no like serious matter of the conversation. It was more so I understood it as, you're not going after me, I'm not going after you. Something very light, but simple, but all encompassing of, hey, I'll be good as it pertains to those people in the treehouse. I presume maybe they'll say, hey, don't go for Nia. If not, I know that those two girls aren't going for me. And they were pretty dominant in the game. So I felt like that was a good play on my end. Where it got hairy for me is I just became very uncomfortable with a lot of the mean girl, unwarranted conversations and side comments and stickering. And it was almost to the point of like just making Kendall and Kellyanne feel uncomfortable in the house, or feel like they just can't come around, you know, where you guys are sitting or have jumping in conversations. It just was so obvious that there was like a blatant effort to create division between the two rooms. That effort was primarily led by, I would say, Kayla and Sylvia, but I feel like the rest of the house didn't, and I mean, I'm sorry, the rest of that room didn't really speak out against it. So it looked like it was a collective effort with everyone in that room. And I understood it if it was based on, hey, we're rooming together, we pick this room, it's 6 of us, like, let's play the game, let's preserve what's in our room. That's harmless, fine. But when it was like, oh, I don't like her, there's something about her I just can't stand, or like little side comments about like things that were totally unrelated to the game and that they were saying out loud in front of Kellyanne and Kendall, I'm like, well, shit, what are you guys saying about me behind my back? And it started making me wonder, is this alliance with me and Kelly and with me and Kayla and Sylvia even real? Because like, if y'all are gonna play this game and like, you know, as grown as we are, like decide to be mean girls and think that it's cute and it's gonna be effective and like that's the angle that you want to come from. I don't respect it, number one. Two, I just think it's whack because we're not like in our 20s anymore. And it's like I couldn't even imagine having the appetite to like be that way. And then 3, it was like, okay, yeah, I need to watch my own back too. But for me, it's like all I could do was, you know, support Kellyanne and Kendall, play a game where, I mean, I wasn't very good at winning the daily challenges, but I wanted them to know that I had their back. And I kept them very abreast to every little slick comment I heard. I ran it right back to them. And just being supportive of them and reassuring them that they were fierce and amazing. And that, you know, sometimes like having haters in life is a sign that you're on the right path and you're killing it. So you got to kind of just embrace it. But yeah, the whole treehouse with the cheer and the like, they had their own little like gang sign thing they were doing and whatnot. It was just like, oh boo, it was so lame. It was so lame. I mean, at our big age, dude, I'm like, okay.
I did notice that during the show, how it seemed like you were the woman who, you know, stuck up for the people who were getting picked on. But what I'm confused on is why Kendall and Kellyanne? I've spoke to Kendall before, twice. She is the nicest person I have ever met out of pretty much almost everyone I've talked to on these shows. Haven't met Kellyanne yet, but as a viewer, she seems incredibly humble, incredibly nice, incredibly fun. So how did this all start?
Benny, that's what's so frustrating to me because, you know, I lived with Kellyanne and Kendall, so I spent an extensive amount of time with them, on and off camera, right? And it was so easy for me to just love them and to find them to be pleasant and to not feel threatened or annoyed by them or triggered by them. I couldn't understand where this was coming from. However, I knew I did not watch the show whenever I wasn't on it. So all of these years, I don't know who these people are, what type of issues they've had, you know, that are rooted in, you know, previous game experiences. I just was like, I'm going to judge people based on how I meet them in this house. And I hope that they give me the same grace to form an opinion based on just me, you know, not what you heard, not Hurricane Nia, not what someone else's experience was, but just, you know, giving me an opportunity to be my authentic self. And then you can judge that, whether you like it or not. So I was very confused for a long time. I mean, still to this day, as to what it was about Kellyanne and Kendall that these girls could not stand. Here's the thing. If you watch the show, the girls are contradicting themselves, because one minute it's, oh, we need to get them out of here because they're fierce competitors and they're big threats in this game, right? But then in the same episode, you're saying things like, no, I just can't stand her. She makes my skin crawl. There's just something about her. Watching her celebrate, I want to shoot myself in the face. It's like that. Those are two different things. So what's the real motive here? And I think that I love that these women made the mistake of admitting the two-faced element on camera. It wasn't like they said one thing on camera and then never revealed how they truly felt. They did both. So I just thought it was very telling. But yeah, that Kellyanne and Kendall are so sweet, so unproblematic, generous, kind. You could tell like both of them are just slow to anger. Even while they were getting picked on, they never acted out of emotion. They even spared the treehouse multiple times when they didn't have to, as it pertained to who they voted in or the sabotages, and they still got pie smacked in their face every time. And, you know, had it been me, I don't know how far removed I am from Hurricane Nia, but I don't know that I could take that much pie in my face and keep, you know, giving these girls, you know, the other cheek, the clean cheek. Like, I don't know if I could do that. Because to me, it was just like, come on, at some point, y'all got to start swinging back. Because now they're really, like, they're just tossing you guys around. And I can't do anything because I have to protect my own game. All I can do is, you know, make you privy to what's going on, support you, but I can't get in the middle of it. Because at the end of the day, anytime I've done that, when I've gotten in the middle of someone else's fight, it has backfired as it pertains to this show. You know, it happened with me, you know, protecting Jessica on The Real World. And I got into the whole shit with me and Jordan and then turned into, World War III between he and I, you know? And so I just have decided, no, I'm not going to get into, you know, anyone else's issues. But at the same time, I'm an empath and I hate being a bystander to bullshit. And I felt like I was a lot for what was going on, you know, this season.
And so you mentioned that they even spared sometimes the Treehouse Alliance. And so I've always wondered, why not? And you mentioned this in one of the episodes. Why not just everyone that's not in that alliance come together and get those girls out? Because Kellyanne, Kendall, you, who else was that? I can't remember, but there were some strong girls, you know? Yeah. So why not come together and get them? And even Kayla mentioned this. She said, I hope they don't come to their senses and come and, you know, get us out. So I was always wondering, like, why didn't you guys just come together?
So I thought about this a lot, Benny. Initially, I was like, you know what? We were always working together in terms of as long as we were in that room together, it was kind of understood, at least to my knowledge, I can't speak for anyone else, that we weren't going after each other. What we didn't do was band together in a way where it's like, hey, we're collectively going to put our target on some of their backs and go after them and intentionally, you know, chip away at them and pick them out of the game. We weren't doing that. In terms of not going after each other, yeah, of course we were doing that. That was like unspoken. But I just think that there was an element of our personality that was so carefree, there to have a good time, to just win based on performance, not having to play these like weird, sinister, mean girl tactics in order to get ahead, that none of us had the desire to do it. So it looked like we weren't really, you know, banding together. And that wasn't the case. We were essentially banded together and we were looking out for each other, but we also just, none of us, like me, Kelly, and Kendall, and Johnny, like, you know, the type of women we are, like, none of us had the appetite to play that game. We were just willing to win or lose based on our own performance. And so I think that it really just boiled down to that. And ultimately, I mean, as of right now on episode 6, I feel like, you know, maybe our room name is Good Karma because it's kind of being pacifist is working out in our favor right now. So yeah, I don't think I would have done it any other way differently at this point. Now looking back.
Well, speaking of Good Karma, so you got called into elimination. You won that elimination. I was so happy you won. And you know what? I wasn't surprised or shocked. I've watched enough of these shows where like I can kind of tell who's gonna go home and who's not gonna go home. Like, there's no way they're gonna send Nia home. She was barely on this episode. Like, there's no way. But I want to ask you when your name got called to go in, because I was shocked. So I can only imagine what you were feeling. So what were you feeling in that moment when you got called in to go against Sylvia?
Okay, so you know, we all at that point, if you had not won, we all had to suit up and pack. But because Sylvia was going in, and there was so much conversation about her already selecting Johnny no matter what and going after all of the stars, I felt safe as well. Sylvia never once came to me in that house during that day leading up to the elimination and said, hey, it might be you. It could be you. I just thought I was still protected by whatever this agreement that we had from night 1 that had proven, or it had appeared to proven to hold some sort of weight. I just thought it was still applying that night. So when my name gets called, I am blindsided. I mean, I'm sure you can look at my face because number one, I had earrings on, I had like a necklace on, my hair was down. I think I wore like my comfy pants from the house. Like, I didn't even have a fucking bra on. I was comfortable. Benny, I was really comfortable. I didn't even have a bra on. I remember this. I won that with like my titty swinging.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I was like, what? And my heart was thumping out of my chest because I was so angry. I was so confused. I didn't know what this game was. I didn't come ready to play. I didn't stretch. I didn't know if this was physical. I didn't know what we were about to do. TJ hadn't told us the rules yet. All I knew was this is like do or die time. And the one thing about me, especially in eliminations, when I'm angry, like that's like the one emotion you do not want to evoke out of me when you need to win, be victorious over like me. Like even in a fight, it's like when I'm enraged, like the likelihood of me losing is very, very slim to none. And I think I was embarrassed. I felt played. I was angry. And I was certain I'm going to win. Like I was so certain that I was going to beat her and do it in a way that was so like, don't ever try me again. Like that was the whole goal. So even though math and puzzles and mazes is not my thing, and normally it would freak me out, not in that moment. I was like staring at this maze, even before TJ blew the whistle, because we could see it. I had already figured out how to do the first 2 before we even walked over there. I had literally just looked at it and mentally figured it out. And I thought, that's my head start. Now, when I get to the middle, I may struggle a bit. But if I get my pool stick out of there faster than her, it's over.
You know what's so interesting? So Sylvia, during the daily challenge, it was a mistake, and I think she mentioned that it was a mistake. She made a mistake of not giving the what do you call it, the sabotage to Kellyanne, because Kellyanne, and Jenny said this in her tweet, she knew that Kellyanne was really good at, it's called wakeboarding, right?
Yeah.
And she said, if I was there, I would have told Sylvia to give it to Kellyanne because Kellyanne's going to win that. But then she also made the mistake of calling you in because you were great at pool. Took you one shot to get that in. It's insane. It's insane to me. And I really loved how Jordan was rooting for you. He was trying to help you out the best way possible. And this leads me to my next question, a question that is on everyone's mind. Are you and Jordan dating? because you mentioned that there was something in between you guys on the show. So I want to know, are you guys dating? Are you guys in a relationship? Are you single?
Well, I am single, and to my knowledge, Jordan is single as well. Actually, I don't know what's that going on, but no, we are not dating. Jordan he is like, the only way I can describe it is like, he's one of the greatest loves of my life in terms of men in my life. And we're not compatible dating wise, but in terms of like a lover, a brother, a friend, you can have a soul tie with someone and not, be in a relationship with him. And, he and I mean, we even have a trauma bond considering where we started. And the fact that we've been able to heal together with each other, for each other, and develop this really sacred, beautiful, authentic friendship. Like, of course, it looks like two people that have an emotional connection, because we do, but it's just, we're friends, and I love him, and, I want him to be happy. I know that he wants the same for me, but we're definitely not compatible dating wise.
Well, you heard it there, folks. Everyone watching, they are not dating.
No,
but
no.
I do love the friendship that you guys have. You guys have such a history together, since your time in the real world. And I love how you guys have been able to keep in touch. So I'm hoping that you guys keep that friendship and we get to see more of you
it's for life.
on TV.
Yeah, it's for life. I mean, Jordan is, to me, like, in the top 5, like, greatest men that I've ever had the privilege of knowing. He's in the top 5, and that top 5 is like, there's a lot of, beautiful, just phenomenal men. My father is one of them, and like, Jordan is in there. And I just am so proud of him and who he's become. And, we're both two imperfect people, but we aim to do a lot of good and to evolve into better human beings every day. And I think that people are seeing that now. And yeah, it's just nice to know, like, the way he was rooting for me, even at the time, I couldn't remember hearing it because I had so much adrenaline and I was in my own thoughts. But just to see him cheer for me with such conviction in his voice, it felt good, and, that's just where we are now. It's wonderful that we've been able to arrive to this point, and I'm glad that, the network has given us an opportunity to showcase that, because I think that a lot of times the things that are celebrated, with both of us being villains, essentially because of our own mistakes, our own, misbehaviors, but to showcase a redemption story, the story of forgiveness, of healing, of love, of patience, of doing the work off camera. I am just thankful that we've been able to do that and showcase that to collectively, but then also individually. And if, like, people follow us on social media, and I mean, but Jordan is just such a insanely talented, like, ambitious man, but also so giving. And he does a lot of good in the world without seeking accolades. He's very generous with his time, with his money, with his effort. And he doesn't like to get recognition for it. But what I've known him to be doing and have pursued and devoted himself to so generously in the last 7 years, even for my own community. It's just, I'm proud of him, and I'm just glad that the network is allowing us to both come back and show that, yeah, you can go from hell, and back together. And, time is, to me, the greatest healer of all. And that's what you guys are seeing now.
Yeah, he's definitely a great guy. And I remember when I talked to him, I was like, this is an amazing guy right here. It was so easy to talk to him. And yeah, I love that you're thriving. I love that you're thriving on this show. I am rooting for you. I hope you make it to the end. I hope you win this thing, because it's been too long since we've seen you. I want to ask you now that you've been on this show, what have you been up to lately? What is Nia Moore doing now?
Well, as you guys know, I am a private jet flight attendant. So I've just been traveling all over the world, eating lots of yummy food, and just enjoying the summer. I was supposed to be filming a TV show right now, and unfortunately, I was not able to do that because I could not get cleared medically. And it's something that I am going to talk about more in detail on my platform. I just kind of want to collect my thoughts and have time to really reflect on how I want to tell this story. But last week, I was hospitalized in Italy and then again in Atlanta, found out that I had pulmonary embolism, which is blood clot of the lungs. And it was something that could have been fatal. And it was 100% attributed to the amount of vaping I have been doing for the last 2 years. Most people don't even know that I do it because I was a closeted vapor. And, on the show, when I did All Stars 4, I'm sorry, when I did All Stars 3, I always had one in my hand because I had a lot of social anxiety. I couldn't really get comfortable in the house with that many people because I'm kind of like an introvert now and I like to be a loner. And so I was vaping 20 times more than I was before I walked in there. So when I came home from filming, I was still vaping constantly. And I knew in my gut that what I was doing to my body, I was going to have to pay for at some point. But I just was so arrogant and delusional in the aspect of, well, I probably got some years before this is going to come after me and, collect. And no, I was completely wrong. I almost potentially lost my life in Italy. And I'm just thankful that I was able to get home safely. I was re-hospitalized when I got to Atlanta. I've been on blood thinners for the last week, and I will be for the next 6 months. It's a really scary thing, and I want to talk to people about it because I always was that person where it's like, I'm not going to have to pay for this. But now it has affected my life in a way that, thankfully, I know I quit cold turkey. I will never vape or smoke anything ever again. But I just hope that my experience and the fact that me making poor choices and having a disregard for my health cost me an opportunity to go film a show that I was really excited about, but also it almost cost me my life. And, I'm only 33, like that would have been such a shame. And it was something where I thought about Diem, and she was my age, maybe 34, but this was a woman who treated her body like a temple and put nothing but fuel and love into it. And ultimately it still worked against her. And she never had a fighting chance to live a long, abundant life. And I just think it's such a slap in the face for me to say that she is one of those personal heroes of mine and someone that I love dearly, for me to continue to, show a lack of self-worth as pertains to my own health. But that's the thing. I was addicted to vaping. And so I'm having to walk that road now where, yes, I have quit because I faced my own mortality. And I've made a decision that no matter what, no matter how uncomfortable, how irritable, how much I crave those vapes, I will never go back to it. But I also want to just share my story with others to hopefully inspire them to make the same decision without having to be rushed to the emergency room,
Yeah, and I am so glad that you're okay. After hearing this story that you're telling, it blows my mind, and it's so scary. And
Yeah.
you're a young woman, you're healthy, and this proves that it can happen to anyone. No one is immune to anything. And I just want to ask you, what was going through your head when all of this was happening?
It was really scary because it all started very quickly. I was sleeping and then my body kept kind of jumping out of my sleep, and I noticed that I was not breathing subconsciously. I had to deliberately take each breath, and I'm like, okay, that's not normal. That shouldn't be happening. I went to sleep, I tried to go to sleep again, and my body jerked out of, my slumber, and something in my gut just said, you need to get up. And so I grabbed my passport because I felt like I was about to faint. At this point, my heart started beating out of my chest so hard that I could see it thumping through my skin. And I felt like someone was sitting on my right lung. And this all happened within like a matter of, I would say, 30 seconds. I mean, I didn't even have time to put on shoes. I just thought, I need to get out in the hallway in this hotel, not be in my room, because if I pass out, no one's going to know. And I could die in here. So, I get to the hallway. At this point, the symptoms are so severe. I could feel my hands balling up. My face is kind of like starting to drop. I get to the, lobby, tell them I need an ambulance, but I couldn't even remember my pilot's names at this point. Like, it was just a lot of symptoms where I'm like, okay, this is either a stroke or a heart attack. And I was terrified. I mean, I was holding my pilot's hand in the ambulance the whole time on FaceTime with my parents, telling them I loved them and that I was sorry, because I really genuinely was like, I thought this was it. I my dog sitter and I said, if I don't make it back home, like, please just take care of my girls. But I just remember thinking, like, I literally might come back in the bottom of a plane. Like,
I'm so glad that you're okay, Nia. And I know that must be really hard for you to talk about it. And I do want to thank you for sharing your story, seriously.
yeah, I think I need to share this and share it a lot, not just one time here, but I need to like explain to people what this was like, because it was one of those things where I felt like I am powerless to stop what is going to happen. And I just prayed and I asked God, I said, you know, if you just give me a chance to live a different way, I will warn others. I will treat my body with respect. I understand the severity and the consequences that could be headed my way because of the choices that I made. Nobody forced me to do this. I knew the risk and I didn't care, you know? It's just one of those things where it's like, I had read about a girl, you know, dropping dead and from a vaping. I heard about a bunch of young people in high school, you know, losing their life and people having strokes and heart attacks and collapsed lungs. But you're like, that's not going to be me, right? You know, I mean, my grandmother lived to 93 and she smoked almost a pack a day for, you know, 30 years of her life. So I thought, well, shit, if she could do it that long, like, I'll be fine. It's a vape. Like, I can quit later. That's how delusional I was about this. You don't get to dictate how something affects your body when it's harmful, or how many times you can abuse how often you can abuse something and think that, well, if someone else, you know, had a different outcome, like, we have different bodies, you know? And so I'm just very thankful that I have my life. Number one, I'm thankful that it happened because, like I said, I was a slave to this stuff and I was never going to quit. And I knew I wasn't going to quit and I wanted to quit, but I just knew that I was at that point where it was like, shit, something drastic was going to happen. And I just think that that was God's way of really just shaking the shit out of me and saying, hey, like, this is it. Like, you got to pick and choose what type of dice you want to roll in your life. And, you know, like, I have decided to lead a healthier life and to make better choices as it pertains to my health. And it's not easy. I mean, right now I have vape withdrawals. Normally I would be vaping before this interview, and then I would kind of lean off camera and do it right here, you know, like, I am a little bit more irritable than I normally am, but I'm alive and I can breathe and I'm happy to be here. So it's like, you know, fuck it. Like, it's going to get easier with time, but I just hope that as I tell this story more times, that people really listen and can learn from my mistakes and don't have to be in a situation where you're fighting for your life and you're fighting for your next breath, because it is terrifying. And I was told by multiple doctors, based on what they discovered with the blood clots, that I was lucky to be alive. So for that, I am, you know, happy to be the poster child for no smoking. Say no to all things that are harmful to your body. Just say no to them.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm so glad that everything is okay now, that you're doing well. And I'm glad that you are bringing awareness to this, because it's a big thing that everyone is doing. Younger people, older people, everyone is doing it. So it's really cool that you're bringing awareness to this. I'm so happy that you're okay. I think you're so amazing. Like, I pinch myself all the time that I get to talk to you guys, and especially you, because I remember watching your entire season. So I thank you for coming on, sharing your story, and being comfortable enough to share your story with me, because that really means so much to me.
Well, thank you, Benny. You know, I have always appreciated your support. You know, flaws and all, you have been here for me, and I'm very thankful of that. So.
Well, you are amazing, and the fans love you. I want to ask you, what's next for you? Would you ever, if given the opportunity to do another season of the challenge, would you be down for it? Are you done with it? What would you want to do?
Yeah, so the next 6 months, next 6 weeks in particular, is kind of, I got to take it easy. Just while I'm on these blood thinners, which I'll be on for the next, like, I think 4 to 6 months. But I have a new outlook on life, and I just can't wait to get in the best shape of my life. Like, I put on a lot of weight in the last 3 months. I mean, I'm 190 pounds right now when I normally stay, you know, around 160, 165. So that tells you, if you can do the math, like I was, you know, having fun, eating a lot in Italy. But I just can't wait to get in the best shape of my life. And I know I made a lot of self-deprecating jokes about being washed up and this and that. And I mean, technically I am, but I want to like become unwashed up and find healthier habits and hobbies and get back to playing volleyball and do some boxing and hike more and go running and do things that are not always related to eating, drinking, and I mean, vaping. And I mean, that was pretty much my hobbies. So I'm very excited about the next few months of my life and not just getting in great shape, but just creating a different lifestyle that is going to have rewards as opposed to risk. And yeah, I mean, now that my cherry has been repopped with All Stars 3, I absolutely want to do another challenge and I want to dominate and I want to show up prepared and I want to train for it. And even if I don't get the call, I intend to live my life as if I am going to get the call because I want to be ready and I want to go back and dominate. Should I go?
I love this new outlook on life, Nia. I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you continue to thrive. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. Can you give the fans your social media so they can keep up to date with you on everything that you're doing?
Yeah. So my Instagram and Twitter is The Real Nia Moore, Nia Moore. And I have a food blog that I have not updated in so long because I have ADHD. But that's called beautyandthefeast.com. But yeah, Instagram is really where I put all of like my goodies and travel stuff and day in the life.
I'm gonna look up that food blog. I love food. I want to see what Nia Moore is cooking.
Yeah, it's recipes. So you can make a lot of the stuff. I mean, it's my recipe. So it's like you can make it at home, but it's beautyandthefeast with an S on the end.com.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you again, Nia. I'm Benny Adams. You guys can find me on all social media at Benny J Adams, and I will see you guys later. Take care.
Awesome. Peace.